a very bold vision. We called it by 8 by 16. Grow the business 8 times by 2016. He ended in a fiasco. We failed. Instead of achieving the growth, it was growth without control. Several of the flanks were left open. And for people who love soccer, when your wing backs, when they go on the attack, if there is a counter attack, they will struggle. And of course, the opposition will have the opportunity of punishing you. So I included that because it's important to note that even when you have a vision and the vision is bold, you need to ensure your flanks, they are well protected, right? So that you are not talking about the future. People must live today. There has to be a seamless connection to the future. So talking about my journey to Edo State, it was in 2016. And again, in 2016, my company was already 25 years. And the same condition that existed when I started the business was that same condition in 2016. Acute dollar liquidity. The economy was contracting. And I knew that if we do not do something, the company was going to disappear. So what did we do? We also, again, as Edo State is trying to do, we took a long-term view. How would the next 25 years be? There will be generational transition, and we hired best-in-class consultants. It was very clear that businesses must align with long-term opportunities offered by the external environment. We coined the term South Africa transformation. It was about moving our businesses from short cycle, light manufacturing business to long cycle, heavy agro-industrial investment that with capacity for value-added export, comparative import substitution, and more importantly, high barrier to entry. Because when you are thinking about the future, we picked 2 crops and we said we were going to invest in integrated value chain in cassava and oil palm. In addition to the businesses we had, certain businesses that were short term, we shut them down. Edo State actually is perfect for these 2 crops. Cassava can easily be grown here. Oil palm is a native of Edo State, right? So, and funny enough, 3 years prior, or 2 years, the governor had invited me to invest in Edo State. When I did not come, he brought all the commissioners. He was then an advisor. We met at Southern Sun. We had lunch. I didn't take up the offer. Again, I want to point something out. That's a failure, is limitation of vision. 3 years later, here I was in the company of several investors that Mr. Chioke came from Lagos that we should come and invest in Edo State. He didn't know that Edo State was actually suited for the Saru transformation and journey for the next 25 years. Well, it took 4 years of pursuing the opportunities. I mean, if you know the governor, he's always dreaming. Oh, we'll do it like this. So we go like this. We do it like this. So we are like exploring, and he wanted the best. He wanted the best in class. So it took 4 years, several travels with the governor, Benin, Lagos, Abuja, Washington, D.C., New York. We attended, all the investors, myself and a few others, we are always there, waiting to see the green light, to see the final policy and how things will go. Some people will call it, oh, why not just leave? Why not go back to what you are doing? And Strategy is about burning the bridge. I already burned the bridge. I was not going back. Those things must be achieved. I said, of course, and I knew I was not going back to my colleagues and say I have failed. I was leading this transformation and I needed to deliver on something. In the private sector, delivering on your goals is quite critical for your leadership credibility. But important learning here, which Edo State could benefit from, is perseverance, resilience, and relentless pursuit of the vision. When you have a vision, there will be obstacles. Things won't go smoothly. So people should not think today we have a door of our dreams. It's going to be Eldorado in 30 years and then challenges will disappear. No, it's not going to be. Every way in implementing the strategy, you must overcome barriers and challenges. But you will always be guided by, you know what? On the other side, it's going to be better. And the legacy you want to leave far after you. Though my Edo story is still continuing. And on a lighter note, I also moved to Edo State. I live here partly. I pay my taxes here. I'm part of you. It's part of the commitment that I have made. Now, going to the theme of the next 30 years, I want to commend the state leadership, my able governor and the deputy governor, for even thinking about the next 30 years. Yesterday, we were looking at some figures. So in the next 30 years, that will be 2051. So what would be the population of our state? You know, which type of roads would they be driving? How will they be serviced? Right? How will people be employed? What sort of jobs will be around? You know, there will be several things. So when you think, I'm a proponent of, say, the first rule of strategy, think forward. Anything is possible. Then you reason backward to look at those challenges. But if you look at challenges first, then you have a vision barrier. You know, so I must commend His Excellency, and I think I would like a round of applause for him for being able to lead us like that. However, in the past 2 days that have been here, I've been asking people, my friends around. So please tell me a vivid description of 2051. What do you see? To even understand what are we dreaming about? Unfortunately, but nicely, I got varied feedback. Some say, I want it to be the culture capital of Nigeria. So, oopsie, we can do that in 3 years. We sort legacy trust out. We do several things. We are already the culture capital. Benin has always been on top. And we can learn a lot from the Chinese. They were on top. It's their right to go on top, and that's what. So Edo dreaming is not because we are that smart. It's because this is what happened before. 300, 400 years ago, when creative work came out of Edo State. So the question to me, what is the dream? And my advice is that there is need to be clear definition of point of arrival. In visioning, you have point of departure. This is where we are, and this is point of arrival. The point of arrival is not in big statement. Maybe we should have some pictures. Imagine a door like this. And I hope in His Excellency a presentation, we would have some of those ideas that this could be us, this would be us. Very important, so that everybody can key in and we can see where we are headed. In my humble opinion, in the state, there are enablers that could accelerate the actualization of the dreams. They are present. One, people and knowledge. the literacy rate in Edo State is one of the highest in the country. How can we leverage that? We are already seeing traction in what the current government is doing. But we heard the managing director of planning and policy of World Bank yesterday. It's not just, oh, I want to go to the tech hub and work for a company in Ukraine. No, you can work for Presco from the tech hub. You can help design a program for their sustainability. So, and you can earn even more than you will earn working for Ukraine. And by doing that, you would have even added more. You would have made money, and you would have added more to the economy of the state. Culture. At the UK Africa Summit in January, just shortly before COVID, 2019, I was, of course, in the delegation to the summit, and after a session at the London Stock Exchange, Mr. Governor was hungry and they had to eat. And we went to Wagamamas. Wagamamas is like going to Chicken Republic, right? And after the food, the other party had to go. His next appointment was at the British Museum. So I said, oh, we can't just leave the governor waiting. I was to return to Lagos that evening. So I stayed with him and we were at the British Museum. So we went to the section where artifacts from Edo State were kept. I was shocked and surprised that our forefathers who had lived 350, 400 years ago made those pieces. It's not about returning them alone. It's about being inspired that the DNA that is in us from those forefathers show we can do anything we want to be. In Benin, in Edo State, I was proud to be a Nigerian, and I understood that our forefathers were not just people who lived in the bushes who were backward. Our forefathers here were smart. They did stuff that it's unbelievable and we are even unable to catch up with today. So to me, that's a major headroom. That's a major enabler. Of course, agriculture. Edo State is one state in Nigeria where in the North Senatorial District, you have the weather of the northern part of Nigeria. You can grow rice. In the south, it's a forest. Cocoa, oil palm, rubber. There's no such state in Nigeria where you could do those things together. So, but the idea is agriculture, everybody talks about agriculture, is overhyped. But the kind of agriculture that we are talking about is where the state will leverage its comparative advantage, provide the framework, bring the investment. I will always use oil palm. 300, 400 million investment today is contribution of $2.5 billion to the GDP in 15 years down the line. If Edo wants to be the number one state in Nigeria to overtake Lagos, it's possible. We are only limited by our dreams. And the theme here is about dreaming. It's about the next 30 years. It's not impossible. What I've not heard a lot in Edo State is the extractive industry. In the north, we have limestone. In a joint venture that South Africa is part of here, on the cassava farm, there is an oil field. There are gas lines. On all the oil palm concession, there are gas lines. These companies cannot take the cement and just go. They can't invest 500 million. We have to think of a way in ensuring they also contribute to this forward we see in the future. I don't know how that can be done, but we have to be able to figure out And I was talking to the commissioner for solid minerals and oil and gas yesterday. He has a lot of work to do. Infrastructure. The infrastructure I'm talking about is not just road. It's security. It's infrastructure for technology. Right? Even at the Tech Hub, we still struggled a bit when we had the event with internet connectivity. We must build the infrastructure that the people will be able to use to feel that, look, they can make anything possible from their rooms, wherever. And we need to think about the people of the future, right? We are all trying to use our phones here. The internet connectivity is poor, right? Even from the telecoms company, we need to figure that out. The infrastructure, road, healthcare, internet, all sorts as we go. But most importantly, governance. And I will talk a bit about governance, not just governance, not about grandstanding. We are talking about quality governance. Private sector, we like taking risk. We like taking risk. So we don't want everything to be smooth. So we are not going away, but we want to see transparency. We want to see commitment. We want to see vision. Governance delivers. Governance enables us to envision, and people will follow. I think on these 6 pillars, the states do have enablers in actualizing any dream that we set for ourselves. But I have 3 parting shots. 1, strategy is the relentless pursuit of what you believe in. I've said that earlier. 2, from my story, vision is not enough. Execution is more important. Lastly, I always like this Japanese proverb, which I learned at the HBS. Vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. Thank you.
Going please for our keynote speaker. Thank you so much, sir. Who would have known our keynote speaker actually has a 28-year-old daughter? Who would have known? He doesn't look like that. Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring speech. Thank you for reminding us that vision, right, without action is only a dream. And action without vision is a nightmare. So dream plus stakeholders engagement plus action, that will be success. The Singapore of Nigeria, which means Edo is not just great here, but it's great everywhere. Thank you very much, sir, for telling us that even though it took a while and you were wondering where is this going, eventually you set sail in Edo State. Congratulations, sir. Now we have a very short documentary to kind of situate the story so far. That story is going to key into the governor himself coming to share this dream and give his thought. Are we ready with a video? So ladies and gentlemen, the story so far is going to be presented on your screen up there. It's a very short documentary. Please go ahead. While the sound is being worked on, I just want us to also reflect a little bit on some of the things that Mr. Sarumi said. That in crises, there are opportunities, and that we are only limited by our dreams. So it's good to know that we can dare to dream, but that dream goes nowhere except everybody keys into the dream. And quite frankly, he referred to our governor as the dreamer. So maybe today going forward, we shall rename him Godwin Noregase Joseph the Dreamer. This is dreaming. You dream. Carry us along with your dream. And we know it's not going to be a nightmare because we are going to buy into the dream. Today, Edo State is great again. Let's make it so for the next 50 years. Edo is the place to be. I don't know how many of you have walked past the golf course area. Find time to drive around Edo State on your way to the airport. You will see one nice muse on the corner. Beautiful homes. It's already sold out. We are coming home. We're ready. Let's go. The story so far. Can I hear some people here shouting, "The devil is a liar"? I remember the summit we had a couple of years ago, and then the generator wouldn't work, and then everybody was scampering. But look at this today, Edo always moves forward. Now we have this state-of-the-art event center right in the middle of Government House, with all the technological needs there. But what I can see that you can't see is some men at the top scampering around looking for how they're going to sort out this audio problem. But I do know that even without the audio, anyone who walks into Edo State or drives through will know that there is a difference. And that's not just gainsaying the fact of what has been said everywhere. Some of the things that I know personally make me want to associate. One thing I know for sure, there is no rushing our governor. No matter how intentional or great the idea you have is. If he hasn't seen it and keyed into it, you're wasting your time. Now here's a governor, but I've said this on several occasions of how he even taught in my old school, Idia College. For the past 5 years, I've been begging this man, go and transform Idia College. Said, listen, I have a dream. He did it in primary school and is moving up to the secondary school level. I have personally witnessed how you cannot rush a man with a vision. And once he keys into the vision, he's working with it. So I would advise that we all key into the vision. At this point in time, if our video is taking a while, I think it's important at this point in time that we should listen to the governor himself. I think at this point in time we can give him a round of applause while they are sorting out the video. Task. Is it on now? Can we have the sound, please? Can we have the sound? The reason we want to see the video is to experience the story so far. And I'm sure you all will agree. There we go.
Development is freedom. However, building a modern, prosperous society is a daunting task. It has taken men with razor-sharp vision, uncompromising zeal for development, and a formidable team to move countries and states from squalor to splendor. The hallmark of this kind of progress is benchmarked by good governance, economic competitiveness, technological advancement, improved quality of life, urban renewal, internal security, and human capital development. From Singapore to Rwanda, Korea to Dubai, leaders such as Lee Kuan Yew, Paul Kagame, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum have shown practical evidence of how to grow from nothing to an indomitable force among the Committee of Nations. In Nigeria, while the quest for development has shown bursts of brilliance and genius intermittently from the national to subnational levels, there was a decidedly fundamental shift in Edo State when Governor Godwin Obaseki took the saddle of leadership in November 12, 2016. Driven by a commitment to change the development narrative in the state, Governor Obaseki rolled up his sleeves and tackled the problems from the foundational level, saying that opting for cosmetic changes would be doing Edo people a disservice. Working with partners, the governor in 2018 unveiled the Edo Basic Education Sector Transformation Program, Edo Best, famed today to be one of the most ambitious initiatives to tackle learning, poverty. Edo is rated as one of the top 5 states in the world championing this fundamental shift in learning, according to the World Bank. Delegations from Rwanda, Liberia, Sierra Leone have visited Edo State to understudy the success story. Ekiti State has visited to learn from the Edo Best Miracle, while Lagos State, after reaching out to understudy the program, implemented a similar program. Governor Obaseki has also prioritized the development of infrastructure, including over 600 road projects, with at least one in each of the 192 wards across the state. The High Court Complex, Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium, Edo Production Center, Edo Innovation Hub, among others, are some of the notable physical infrastructure projects that give vent to the vision of repositioning the state for greatness. In the wake of the coronavirus outbreak in 2020, the governor rolled out a Marshall Plan from 2020 till 2021. The governance team set up by the governor continues to drive a holistic response which saw to the revamp of the state healthcare system, setting up a vibrant health insurance scheme which catered for frontline health workers, provision of relief materials to over 500,000 residents, development of a 200-bed holding facility to manage cases, among others. Edo was one of the first states in Nigeria to mandate the wearing of face masks in public places, and also the first to insist on the vaccination of people who gather in public spaces. The state continues to get accolades for its pace-setting response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The governor's clarity of vision has, unsurprisingly, attracted a number of co-believers. This is why today, the Edo Refinery and Petrochemical Company is set to pump refined petroleum products into the Nigerian market. The CCETC Osium Independent Power Project is already powering government buildings, including the Secretariat Complex, Edo Specialist Hospital, Government House, and streetlights. The cables are being connected to major streets in the metropolitan area to supply stable power to private homes who are willing to buy. These landmark projects and initiatives were quite instrumental in convincing Edo people that the governor's vision was sure-footed and unwavering, thereby inspiring them to overwhelmingly vote into office for a second term in 2020. The confidence reposed in the governor's march to development has also helped in securing 69 billion naira investment for the oil palm plantations in the state, even as international companies continue to break grounds in the state and provide jobs for Edo people. As the state's retail sector comes alive, ShopRite has commenced the building of a mall to join other brands like Jara, Domino's, among others. In Edo today, there is a new way of doing business with government. From Edo GIS, which has digitalized land administration, to the new secretariat, everywhere is sparkling with new energy, bright smiles, and a commitment to change. The Edo State Civil Public Service Transformation and Enhancement Program is injecting new processes, structures, ideas, tools, and personnel to deliver optimal service to Edo people. A new culture has evolved, and it is driven by technology and data. At the Edo Tech Park, working with our partners, Decagon, Edo youths are being trained to conquer the world using the power of software engineering and coding. At the Edo State College of Nursing, Edo State College of Education, and Edo University Uzairwe, among others, the change is palpable, with graduates receiving top-class education. They will contribute to building a vibrant economy, setting up businesses and million-dollar startups in our state. We are building a sustainable future today, providing our people with the tools and expertise to confidently take on the world and dominate, so that together we can all make Edo truly great again. Welcome to Alaghodaro Summit 2021.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the First Lady of Edo State, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, Your Excellency, our beloved Deputy Governor, the Right Honorable Comrade Philip Shaibu and his very lovely wife, the Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, the Right Honorable Marcus Onubon, Your Lordship, the Chief Judge of Edo State, Honorable Justice Joseph Archer. We are blessed this morning in Edo that all our three senators representing the three senatorial zones are here with us. It tells you how much progress we have made in our politics. I want to acknowledge Senators Matthew Ruhide, Senator Francis Alemikena, Senator Clifford Odia, Honorable Sejos Ogun, the member of House of Representatives, Honorable Jude Isaidehe, so a member of House of Representatives, other members of the Edo State House of Assembly who are here, my colleagues in the Edo State Executive Council and other senior government functionaries, the State Chairman, PDP, Honorable Anthony Azebemi, and other party leaders. My brother and friend, the Chairman of Alaghodaro Summit, Mr. Aswe Igodalo, and other board members of Alaghodaro. Members of the academia who are here, let me thank our sponsors. You have been with us from the beginning, and your support keeps helping us to wax stronger as a government. Thank you. Our distinguished panelists, many of you have traveled from far and near. Clerics, I acknowledge the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Bishop Kure, and the chief imam of Benin City, Alhaji Sheikh Inabulele. His Royal Majesty, the Omonobade Durukwa Kolokolo Obaiwari II, the Oba of Benin, who is ably represented, Oba Atokwe, Most distinguished invited guests, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I had to establish protocol. That is the protocol. I'm so glad that all of you have now accepted Alaghodaro as an annual ritual. And that on the 12th of November every year, we all gather here like this, not just to reflect on what has happened in the last year, but also to project the future and see if we are in line with our promises and our hopes. As the chairman of the summit said in his opening statement, and also reiterated by the guest speaker, this year we're building on the theme for last year, which we set after our victory at the polls. For us, the victory of September 19th last year clearly was a turning point from which we have redefined our future as a people. We were dreaming, but last year our dream came true. And we haven't stopped dreaming. We don't daydream, and may God not allow us have a nightmare. So this afternoon, over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll try and explain as best as I can the future we see and how we believe we can sustain that future. We're all witnesses to what has happened in this country and in the world in the last several months. COVID-19 clearly has redefined how humanity will live and will exist. It has reprioritized our values and reprioritized and given us new priorities. As if that was not significant enough, what has happened in the global energy market, the way the world now sees energy, sees our main product, but crude oil, has changed. The world is now talking about renewable energy. This and the unfortunate steps we have taken in managing our national economy has created real challenges, which has led to our economic downturn. And, you've heard my views about this. The way we continue to manage our foreign exchange it's like we're back where we were 30 years ago. You heard the keynote speaker talk about his experience. But what is interesting is that what's going on today is not new. Listening to Mr. Sarumi, I said, oh, it's true. 30 years ago we had similar challenges. But unfortunately, what we have today is life-defining. There are certain fundamentals that have shifted. The ground on which we stand has shifted. So we cannot continue to think about making the sort of mistakes we made 30 years ago, because it's really costly and expensive. But we know that Nigeria and Edo State still have a bright future despite all these challenges. And as the keynote speaker mentioned, and also attested to by this engineer and futurist, Buckminster Fuller, he said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. What is. The situation we're in today is what it is. We have to just accept it. If we need to change it, then we must build a new model so that the old model can become obsolete. And that's the way we see our future in Edo. We believe that Edo will be great again. It will be great because the people of Edo will make Edo great. How will they make it great? First, by the way we organize how government works. Our government now needs to be organized to work for our people. Not for a few, but for everybody. We'll become great again when we focus on developing the human capacity of our people. That is what we have been. That is what we've done through the centuries. And that is what we will do in our current situation. We will become great again when we take advantage of our natural endowments to drive commerce and economic activities. And we have myriads of opportunities and advantages. From our location, to our land, to the diversity of our ecology, to the most important people. Once, as government, we combine all of this together and focus on them, Edo will become great again. We're just not dreaming. We have been at this for 5 years. This is our 5th anniversary. So it's just not a daydream. It's real because we have some experiences. Because over the last 5 years, we have focused on setting. First, how do we govern our people properly? And you all know the challenges we have faced. And our insistence on doing things differently and properly led to the kind of revolution which we saw in our politics in Nigeria starting last year. And thank God, we call it a revolution. It's real. We have seen it reflect in Anambra and, by the grace of God, in all subsequent elections. So we've focused on reforming the civil and public service. First, by just improving the environment in which they work. Some of those pictures are real. Yes, they may have been taken at night, but you can drive through. The offices we're building for our civil servants and our public servants today go compare with anything you find anywhere in the world. Because if you do not create the right environment, they cannot and will not be as productive as they could be. So we've improved the environment. We've begun to go back to what we're known for: merit-based hiring. You do not have to be the child of a senator or His Royal Highness or whatever to be able to have access or jobs in the civil service. And for the civil and public service today, you have to earn your pay. Yes, it may not be much. Yes, we're going to work hard to improve on it, but you have to deliver, you have to produce. So they all have KPIs. They have key performance indicators and they have scorecards. Quarterly, we review what they do and we try and help them improve the service delivery. Today, we have an e-procurement platform. We can tell you how much we pay for every service that government procures. And it's there online, it's available. There's nothing to hide because we now must run government transparently, accountably, and account for every kobo of taxpayers' money we spent. The story on education has been told severally, so I'm not going to, emphasize it again. The documentary showed it clearly. But what we have now seen is that in 3 years, we could transform the way our children learn. We've been able to create an educational system, particularly at the basic level, that gives these children the confidence and prepares them to live in the world of the future. So the children who are in our basic school today, I have no doubts in my mind that the 275,000 of them which we have on our database and we are tracking today, we will be able to follow them through life and support them in their future careers. I am so confident that with what we have laid down today, we're tracking the best, the top performing pupils in our schools. And in 5-10 years' time, when they're going into secondary or tertiary schools, we tell that these 10,000 of them or 20,000 of them will make great surgeons, will make great engineers, and we can now begin to plan on that basis. With what we have learned reforming and transforming our basic education system, we now know it is possible to use the same tools to change the way we teach and train our kids in junior secondary school, senior secondary schools, in all our technical colleges and tertiary institutions. That is what we've termed EduBest 2.0, which we have commenced. In the area of healthcare, we're just not starting. We have done quite a lot of work. Our focus has always been on basic care, just like we did with basic education. It's basic care. Let's go and fix those areas, the institution where our people have a first interaction with our healthcare system. So primary healthcare reform is our priority, and at the minimum, by the time we're leaving in 2024, we should have at least one standard primary healthcare center in every ward in Edo State with well-trained staff who we have now transferred to the primary healthcare agency, with the technology that tracks when people come in and also tracks the quality of services we render to them. We see Edo as a health hub in the near future. And when I mean near future, in the next 5 years. Because we have everything that it takes to become a hub for healthcare. We've revamped the Edo Specialist Hospital, and we've ignored the manipulations from our opponents who try to make an issue of bringing down a 90-year hospital and moving a 90-year hospital into a 5-year-old hospital. So we're transforming the specialist hospital and then also building a new Stella Obasanjo hospital. In the area of power, as you know, Benin City and Edo State has one of the largest generating capacity. In this town alone, we have in excess of 1,000 megawatts of power. So there is no excuse and reason why we should be in darkness. And from the gas resources available, not to talk about renewables, we can generate 10,000 megawatts of power in this state. And we will do so. This facility in this hall is being powered by an IPP from Osiomo. We started lighting up Edo State, beginning from the Ring Road, and our goal is that within the shortest possible time, we would have built a network of over 200 kilometers of streetlights starting from Benin. It's all about the economy. We have to continue to grow the economy to sustain our future. And the future is about technology and innovation. So our emphasis as government is technology, education, technology, education. We have set up innovation hubs, and we did this as pilots. And the successes we've attained just confirm to us that it is possible. Now that we have piloted, the next phase is to just roll out and don't look back. We've trained over 32,000 beneficiaries in various ICT programs, and for us, it's now the norm. And we will continue to push. For those of you who were with us 2 nights ago with the World Bank Managing Director for Port at the Oharami Takeoff Campus of the Edo Park, you see the potential that this state has, particularly in our young people. We have about 120 of them running the Takeoff program. And when they shared their story, we left there that night, and our guests left knowing that Edo has promise, and Edo has a bright future. We've also looked at skills and entrepreneurships. We've set up 2 job centers. We've trained over 23,000 beneficiaries. We've certified most of them, and we're raising financing to support these entrepreneurs. We've started with the Bank of Industry Collaboration with 2 billion, and we hope that we'll grow that very rapidly in the next few months to about 10 billion. Working with Konga, we have set up an online marketplace, and we're trying to get our little entrepreneurs to now begin to use this platform to extend their markets. We continue to encourage job fairs and other activities that will promote the goods and services of our people outside the state. The Benin River Port project for us is going to be a game changer. We have completed 3 baseline feasibility studies, and each study has just confirms to us that the opportunities which the Benin River, the part of Benin, gave to the Benin Empire, those opportunities still exist today. We have done the topographical surveys, the bathymetric surveys, so just all the surveys these technical people need to undertake to check the viability of a port have now been done. And we have come to the conclusion and realized that river port could be the second most viable port in Nigeria. And it's one infrastructure that we must build. And we've done a lot of work, including all the alignments to connect the port to the main city. All of that has now been completed. In terms of agriculture, we're still going to talk about it a bit, but that's what brought our keynote speaker here. We are leveraging on a key advantage of oil palm, not just because of the product itself of oil palm, but because strategically you need to have size and scope. And size and scope comes with large-scale investments. And so we're seeing that palm oil is that crop that will bring large-scale investment in the way we think about agriculture. How you prepare land, how you get inputs, how you train extension workers, all the things that you need to do to make agriculture successful. Once you have, large players coming in, they help you set the standards. And then every other crop production now follows from there. So that's the emphasis, that's the strategy, and that's why we can't thank enough our partners who have come together under what we call the Edo State Oil Palm Program, where we have allocated 102,000 hectares of new land, mostly degraded forests, to now commence the production of oil palm and reenacting what we used to be. We can't continue to lament that palm oil was taken from here and taken to Malaysia and Indonesia and see what it's doing for them. I mean, we can't continue that lamentation. The land is still here. The crop will still do well. So, strategically, let's just start and get it done. Our dream is that, in another 30 years' time or less, as you are flying into Edo State, all you'll be seeing are farms, just like you see everywhere else in the world. But all of these cannot happen if there is no law and order. Because in our oath of office, we always swear to protect and protect our people. So it's about law and order. Our democracy cannot thrive, will collapse without law and order. That's why we're emphasizing law and order. That's why we are emphasizing investments in the judiciary, in the process of making laws, in policing. Edo State, we know it's only a question of time. We will have our state police. It's just a question of time. Because you cannot run a federal system without it. But before that, we're collaborating, and we will continue to collaborate with the federal security structure. We've built and designed our own security structure around the federal system today, and we will continue to invest even in that system that is controlled federally. We built and established the Marine Police with marine bases in Olobo and Gelegele. And the success of the Edo Community Policing and Vigilante structure has been amazing. Last night, about 1 a.m., we drove into town to just, as I do randomly, to check and see what's going on, what they're doing. And I found them up front of Oba Market, where they had just arrested a young man who beat and hit somebody else at another checkpoint. And I left feeling very, very good that security is local. Only the people can secure themselves. So as a state, we'll continue to invest and work with the security agents to invest in our security. So over the past 5 years, like I said, we've done as much as we can. We've laid the foundation. We now know that it is possible, that our dreams can become reality, that we will dream and we will not have nightmares, because we have a strategy or strategies backing our dreams. So today we're going to be talking and launching Edo State's 30-year development plan. What we have tried to do is not to produce another document. What the plan is a new system. We have two sets of planners working with us. We have those who are doing our economic and social planning, and we have those who are doing our physical planning. So we have teams in Benin, in Lagos, in Abuja. We have teams in Benin, in Beirut, and in London, all working. But our insistence is that whatever we're doing must be domiciled in Benin, and we must have hundreds of young men and women who now must be involved with them in that process, because these youngsters are the ones that will implement the plan. Planning on a plan is not a document. It has to be a process. We have to live it. And that is what the Edo 30-year development plan is about. It's broken into periods of 5-year periods, and we'll have 6 of those periods which we hope will span about 8 electoral cycles. I know that for me, one of the biggest or greatest concerns people have is that Mr. Governor, yourself and your team are doing so much. What will happen when you leave in 2024? What's the assurance that all these things, all the innovations, all the reforms you're undertaking will continue? Who will be your successor? I've said to them, I can't guarantee that my successor will be able to do exactly better than I've done. It's not, because we are human. But what we can guarantee is that once we have a system that calls the leadership to account, when we have a system, when the people know and understand what to expect from government, then that will be a better guarantee to ensure that the system continues to work and run the way the people want it to. And so the strategy for a long-term plan is, like Mr. Sarumi said, it's broken up into periods. We're just not dreaming about 30 years from now. We're dreaming about 2023, we're dreaming about 2024, 5, 6, and we're dreaming about periods between 2021 and 2025, and then, in such blocks. But what are the key things we must do? And like I said, fortunately we have started doing that will take us to our dreamland by 2050. First, and we will continue to insist, because we see it every day, Nigeria is not working because the civil service and the public service are not working. Simple. So we politicians can say whatever we want, we can, make whatever pronouncements, but the structure and system to make things happen is very, very weak. And until we build this bureaucracy, the structures will just continue to lament and at best continue to hope. So rebuilding the public sector is key. And you cannot rebuild the public sector on its own anymore. Forget it. The public sector needs help. The public sector needs to now collaborate more with the private sector. As far as we are concerned in Edo State, you only have one sector, the Nigerian sector. We would not have been able to undertake the reform we undertook in education in Edo West if we did not have private sector partners. And I see the same way in terms of implementing technology. So we must understand that it has to happen. We have to have short-term initiatives. And today we're working on an e-government platform, and the future of Edo and the bureaucracy of Edo is technology. Edo will run on an e-gov platform commencing this year. I have always said in different fora that I will be the last governor in Edo State to work with manual files. The next 30 years will mean us focusing more on our human capacity. It's education, education, education. We have to, like we've started, to deepen the reskilling of our workforce. I am going to be receiving a delegation next week, and we want to look at the possibility of reopening our primary schools, our basic schools, for adult education, to help those who missed out come back to school. With our experiences from the Edo Production Hub, the Edo Enterprise Park, we now know it is possible to build large parks or areas where people can come and converge and undertake economic activities. So we're fortunate, like in Olobo, for instance, with the Osioma power plant, we're setting up the industrial park. In towards Ihovo, with the Azura and Ihovo power plants, we're setting up a production park. So wherever we find infrastructure, we will just prepare for people to go there and then undertake their economic activities. We are going to continue to leverage on technology. He started his business. The situation in Nigeria was not radically different from what it is today. Foreign exchange was scarce, inflation was very high, but it persisted. They broke their plans down into periods. They failed in some areas. They stood up, took on the challenges, but continued to persevere. Today, they're investing billions of naira back in Edo and in other parts of the country because they had a strategy, they had a focus, they have a sense of the future, and they had a dream, and they worked and lived that dream. So today, this morning, we are here to assure ourselves that the future is bright despite the challenges, to assure ourselves that we know what to do. We know that at the end of the day is about economic growth. That if we do the things we have planned to do, we will make Edo a center for economic transformation. I am an investment banker, and I want to tell you that the money to do it is available. The money is not the challenge. The challenge is the thinking. The challenge is the discipline to follow through with a particular strategy and to stick to it no matter how difficult or daunting it will seem. And so, for me, the next 5 years should be one that ushers in a whole era of new opportunities. An era where we'll be able to raise substantial amounts of money from the international capital markets to build a river port which will give us access to the rest of the world, direct access, to build an international airport that will be aligned to that, to bring in commerce, to support something unique that no one else has in Africa, which is a cultural district based on a history, a culture that the world cherishes. So for us, the return of the artifacts, it's not just about the display of the artifacts. No. It's about part of our plan to create and make Edo a culture hub. There is none in Africa today. And because there are very few societies that have what we have to show the rest of the world. The cultural district, the return of the artifacts, is to help us make that reconnection with our past. It's to help relate the creative geniuses we see in our young people to where it is coming from, to its source. That is the purpose. So that's why we don't want to get drawn and lost in the purpose, the arguments back and forth, but to focus on the purpose, why we need these works back. And we want to appreciate and thank all the governments and, the various museums across the world who have made a commitment to return these pieces. We have over 4,000 of these pieces flung across the world. And we have commitments for substantial return of these works. Our goal as a government is to prepare a state, to prepare a city where these works can come in, where they can be displayed, and where the world can come and see them. And by the grace of God, we will succeed in doing so. As I said, we want to continue to invest in agriculture, particularly oil palm, to now help us create the framework for investing in agriculture. Victor Waifo Creative Hub is just a sample of what we intend to do in supporting entertainment and the creativity of our young people. That is just a sample. I just invite all of you to come in tomorrow to see the young creative artists who we have nurtured, performing with their peers nationally in that center, and it will tell you what is possible. And these are ideas that have been brought into reality by young men and women who are working with me. They make these difficult challenges look so simple. The Edo Technology Park. We just don't like to talk about ourselves. We don't like to be modest. But we will be here next year and we will take a tour of what's going on in that park. And so, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular honor and pleasure to thank all of you and to say that today marks the beginning of the launch and implementation of the Edo State 30-year development plan. Thank you.
The city is calling, all our sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching.
Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for His Excellency.
The founding fathers of labor.
I think we should do better. Thank you. Thank you. Straight away, we move on to the plenary section. The first plenary will be looking at empowering the next generation through innovation and digitization. We acknowledge the presence of our traditional rulers here. They deserve a round of applause, please. Let's put our hands together for our traditional rulers from the north, central, and south. Just as my colleague Adesua described Mr. Governor as the dreamer, the Joseph, I want to describe my governor as the Moses of our time. And we're told by the Bible that Moses walked with God and he led the people of Israel to the promised land. And therefore, the Moses of our time, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, is leading us to the promised land. He deserves a round of applause. He has got the dream, he has got the vision, he has got the strength, and God has given him the mandate. And certainly we will get there. If you believe that, can you put your hands together? Thank you. And very quickly, for the first plenary, may I invite Ms. Ida Umbobo, Senior Digital Development Specialist, World Bank, to please step on to the podium to further introduce the panelists who will discuss empowering the next generation through innovation and digitization. Please, can we put our hands together for our very dear sister and moderator of the first plenary, Ms. Ida Ombo, yes. Senior Digital Development Specialist, World Bank. Thank you.
A little bird told me, Terry, that we should play a video first, right? Ida, let's clear the table because Joseph the Dreamer and Moses has finished speaking. So let's clear this, please. The tech park is an indication of what is possible. While we know, our chairman said it's the material from all of this cerebral talk that will form what they'll do later. So kindly, while Ida is all seated, don't worry, sit down. We like your lovely dress. Just cross your legs and wait. So we'll watch the video before you bring your guests on. So if the video is ready, just 5 minutes. Because when you dream, when you see what you're dreaming about, it's better. So let's see what this is.
The COVID-19 pandemic and dwindling oil revenue makes even more critical the need to empower our youth for global competitiveness. The global tech talent shortage presents a strategic opportunity that can be leveraged for creating productive engagement for our young ones. Tech is the new oil. The $400 billion plus technology and remote work market remains largely untapped as demand for tech talent continues to dwarf the supply. Edo youths can fill this gap through the strategic provision of talent acceleration and the enabling environments to support a thriving tech ecosystem in the state. Training 15,000 engineers at Decagon. Through our partnership with Decagon, the state will host the training of 15,000 youth in core software engineering skills within the next 5 years with guaranteed job placement on completion of training. Hundreds of these are already in the program at our takeoff training
My name is Ida. I just wanted to start by just talking about the trends that we're seeing. When you look at the predictions in the year 2025, the World Economic Forum has indicated that we're going to lose 85 million jobs to technology, but we will gain another 97 million. Nigeria in itself will have 45% of their jobs being susceptible to automation, which means that we really need to start thinking about digitization and upskilling of youth today. Edo State in particular is a unique situation because half of their population is actually under the age of 30. At the same time, they have 15.3% of unemployed youth, 19.3% of underemployed youth, and as the governor indicated today when he was launching his strategy, job creation is really central to everything that's being done. But we can't talk about the digital economy, we can't talk about job creation, we can't talk about innovation without talking about internet access and broadband. And as our keynote speaker indicated as well, that is still a big challenge. Nigeria currently only has 55,000 kilometers of fiber, and they need 167,000 to have universal broadband. As things stand today in terms of the current status quo, it will cost $3.4 billion to roll out broadband in Nigeria. But with significant reforms specifically related to rights of way, this amount could go down to $1 billion. So one of the things we'd really like to see come out, you can't hear me?
But we can hear you here. Go on, we can hear you here, go ahead.
One of the things we'd like to see come out today is the reforms related to rights of way that will really allow us to not just grow the digital economy, but also achieve some of the goals that the governor indicated today, 1, 4, and 5, related to e-government platforms, broadband internet, and also financial inclusion. So with that, I think I'm going to move to talk to Sarah. Can you hear me properly? Okay. So Sarah works for the Edo State government, and what we want to speak to her about is really give us an indication about some of the reforms and plans and strategies that the government is launching to support job creation, innovation, and economic growth, specifically linked to what we saw today about the short and long-term goals in the master plan and also the Edo State development plan. They can't hear me, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. Based on our pre-discussion, I think I can basically follow what you've said. And I'd like to just stand on the existing protocol and say, as a true Edo daughter, Wabo here, Wabulu, Wawese, welcome to Alaghodaro. It was Eleanor Roosevelt who says that future belongs to those who dare to dream and believe in the beauty of their dreams. Here in Alaghodaro today, we're going to talk about Edo State. We have dared to dream, and we have not just dreamt, we're doing what is necessary to achieve the dreams of the future. The governor has spoken, and we've shown a lot of what we're doing in that sector, talking to our digital transformation, talking to what we are doing in our innovative hubs, talking to what we're doing in our the transformation, not just in the people, but in the sectors, agricultural transformation, the health transformation, the civil service transformation, and we're looking at building people. Edo Best is one of our transformation efforts, talking about building the people we will need to actually achieve the Edo State of our dreams and the Edo State of the future. So yes, it's not just about dreaming, it's about doing what is necessary, putting in place the right policies, and putting in place the right people who will enable us achieve the Edo State of our dreams and the Edo State of our future. And we do very believe in the words of Walt Disney that dreams come true. And in Edo State, we are not just dreaming, we are working to ensure that those dreams do come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. I think next, George, it would be great to speak to you. So, as you know, we saw in the booklet that Edo State has done quite a lot when it comes to upskilling their youth. Human capital is central to their goals, and this is reflected in their state development plan. You can see they've trained they've given jobs to 160,000 youth. They've trained over 32,000 people in the Edo Innovates. They've trained 11,000 teachers, 200 nurses. They've been doing quite a lot of work. But when you look at the
population and the amount of people who are unemployed, you're talking about almost 2.3 million people who need jobs. How does Edo State start thinking about how to upscale these initiatives so they can start talking about hundreds of thousands and millions of people who are being trained and being driven into the digital economy?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Excellency, I would stand on the existing protocols so that I don't waste too much time. Ada, I think it's quite a tough question that you've asked me. The reason is because we are here at this event, supposedly partnering with a governor that is clearly, way among ahead of the pace in terms of like achievement and all the technological developments that we have in the state. But the question you are asking me is for me to point out what gaps I see, and quick wins that we can be able to still harness. So I think that, while His Excellency was giving his speech, he made mention of, always taking the approach of reaching out, to the grassroots and trying to pay attention to the service points where the, actual people can come and, have contact with the service, where he spoke about, basic education, primary health care as well. I think that is also an important approach that we can take to digital upskilling. I'm going to limit my answer to the context of digital skills. The reason is because today we are doing an amazing job with Edo Innovate, but there are 3 senatorial districts, 18 local governments, and about 192 wards in the state. And you have Edo Innovate, maybe one center to serve all these people. So the work is impactful, but then you look at the depth and the reach of what you have. It's not as much as what you want to do. And the fact that we are racing against a situation that is very there, you start to ask yourself, what can we do quickly to expedite this? I see an opportunity around policy, for example, how the state government can be able to, through some sort of political lobbying, push for local governments to be able to set up ICT hubs. It becomes mandatory to set up, we can even through the legislature, set up ICT hubs in the 18 local governments of the state and have a small budget set aside to ensure that it runs sustainably. That is one. 2 is the fact that we also need to find ways to bring home some of the success stories that we have. Because when you're talking about skilling, there are 2 more factors that you have to consider. One is the fact that you need to create access for it to happen. Then you need to ensure that the pool that you are looking to upskill, they are inspired, they are motivated enough to learn. And to do that, you need success stories. So we've heard about people like Ezra in Lagos who has exited Paystack for 200 million. We need to bring this kind of success stories closer to our people as a way of demystifying that whole value creation through venture building and leveraging digital skills and talent. So government can be able to do this through offering of incentives. I'm particularly excited about that the Alaghodaro Summit is now an LSC. What we would also like to see is probably a situation where that goes even further to become a limited partner to some sort of a seed fund focused on investing in startups that are domiciled in the state. That way we can, in the next few years, start having exits that will serve as inspiration and motivation to the entire pool, and then we can get more people in. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Chris, we saw earlier this morning when the governor spoke to the 30-year plan that one of the priorities is launching e-government as priority number 1. And we've seen historically in Nigeria, private sector platforms have been very successful. They've employed about 2.9 million people. We have about 90 platforms, and they're projected to earn up to $75 billion by 2025. Public platforms, on the other hand, have not had such success. Only 3% of Nigerians are currently accessing public platforms. So what would you suggest in terms of practical tips and guidance Edo State government to take on board so that that e-government platform is successfully launched and implemented?
Okay, thank you, Ida. It's truly an honor to be here. While I sat down, I was actually in awe with the visioning that the governor has put forward before us. I think, in all honesty, there has to be a combination between private sector and public sector just to drive these initiatives. And to speak to your question in particular, digital platforms are a way to reach millions of people because of the scale. And one of those digital platforms that can help Edo to reach those objectives are a single window portal. A single window portal is actually best practice to drive breaking up silos within ministries, departments, and agencies, and foster interagency collaboration. So if you had a single window portal providing digital services to Edo State citizens and people beyond, easily people can see what is going on in Edo State at a glance and access and consume those services. One of the things that I would also like to mention is the importance of an e-government strategy as the foundational pillar to drive the digital economy. Because I'm very aware that people think that government is responsible to build digital transformation, to build the digital economy. But globally and in civilized climes, the private sector actually drive digital economy and digital transformation. And the core responsibility of the government is to ensure that they themselves are digitized and they've actually implemented digital transformation. And an e-government strategy actually will set out all the initiatives to digitize government end-to-end and show a roadmap to be able to achieve that. I will talk a bit more about the platforms later, just to give opportunity for the other speakers as well.
Thank you, Chris. Yvonne, we also saw when the governor was not launching, but speaking to the short and long-term strategy, that financial inclusion for women was a priority. Now, considering that a large percentage of women in Nigeria remain unbanked, considering the low penetration of NIN enrollments, and considering the lack of access to mobile equipment as well as digital infrastructure, what are ways that, in your experience, you find could really support the youth in Edo to actually embrace sort of digital financial services and become included as part of that community?
Thank you very much. So with financial inclusion in particular, we need to, as the government is doing now, Edo State government is doing now, focus very sharply on SMEs and MSMEs for women. In doing that, we need to think beyond our digital capabilities at this time. And so we have tools today, USSD codes, and ways that we can transmit money to people, platforms, Instagram and other things where we can communicate to these people whilst we're doing the digital rollout platform that we were thinking about. Through these channels, we can facilitate payments, we can facilitate communication, and we can facilitate training to these two for financial inclusion. The First Lady of Edo State is supporting an initiative today where there is, or supporting an initiative for Edo women, where a Nigerian company called iRecharge has created a platform that is fit for our purposes. It meets the women wherever they are, in the markets, in their homes, looking after their children, wherever. It takes their data, it helps them communicate with the providers of goods and services, and importantly, just with having a single code, whether it's on their phone, smart, not smart, whether they go and use somebody else's phone, they simply have one code, and through that they can transmit money to a POS machine, an ATM machine, a bank account, to their suppliers, and a number of other things. These types of platforms are being created by Nigerians today, and they're things that we can use to facilitate the aggressive rollout of financial inclusion in Nigeria at this point.
And Yvonne, just coming back to you again, I know you do quite interesting work with young women as well in Nigeria, and you're launching today in Benin another program supporting young women to sort of become entrepreneurs, financial inclusion. I think it would be great for you to speak to that, because as the governor said, sometimes these are the things that you pilot, it succeeds, and then you scale it even further.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it will scale further. I think the important thing, though, also is Edo State is leading the charge on making business life easy for businesses, and this is one of the most important messages I'd say to you, the governor, to keep on thinking about how it's one thing to start for people to start businesses, because we talk about job creation. What we should really be thinking about is helping people create jobs, but more importantly, sustaining the companies that are created from these jobs. We all know that with startups, 80% of them will fade, will disappear or morph into another shape after the first 2 years. So the challenge that we face in Edo State is how do we support these companies from the beginning, make their lives easier to do. And the tools are there already, but it's actually being very intentional about the survival of the businesses that these, not just women, but frankly, anybody who is financially included or who has small businesses. I know that there's contemplation of business facilitation hubs that will support the tech hubs, for example. If you look at the Decagon initiative you're doing, there's lots to learn from the Mandela model. Very aggressive, high number of young students, who came through this program. And then the model shifted to a more commercial model that did not include our youth. So as we think about this, the scalability and the sustainability of these, by supporting the businesses, the security environment is here already. And the vision you have means that necessarily Edo State will be a mega city in Nigeria within the next 10 years. Because if you have security, you have proper governance, and you have an enabling environment for the youth to thrive, you're thinking now largely about Edo youth. You need to be contemplating the infrastructure that will support youth from all across the country, perhaps other parts of the world as well. We'll talk about financing that in a minute.
So we have our final question for Mr. Osai. I know that you work in digitizing agriculture to try and get youth to be more actively involved. And it'd be interesting for you to speak to that as well, because we know the informal sector was really affected by COVID, and agriculture takes a huge part of that. With the lack of digital identification, lack of digital equipment, lack of broadband, how exactly do you propose to support youth in Edo State who are interested in agriculture to go into the tech aspect of it?
Thank you very much, Ida, for the question. I think there are a lot of opportunities in the state across different sectors that innovation and technology actually unlock values out of. And firstly, we have to look at what's the approach in firstly identifying these problems and opportunities in these problems. So for us as a business, we are predominantly in agriculture. We take a different approach. We look at opportunities in problems, and then we try to come up with innovative solutions to these problems. And a lot of them will be technological backed. One of the things we're looking at that I think is key is to sort of create a blockchain-backed supply chain-driven platform that connects smallholder farmers directly with consumers to improve traceability across the food chain. And I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of youths in the state to plug in, not just from the growing part of it, but also in other value-added services, from logistics to other support-related services. Another way that I believe technology can impact the agriculture sector is using geolocation technology to improve logistics and drastically reduce food wastage. In doing this, there's a lot of opportunities as well for entrepreneurs and youths in the state to key in and fill those gaps. The last point I would mention is using satellites to ascertain rural assets, to give loans to farmers, which talks to the point of what Ms. Yvonne just mentioned on financial inclusion. How do we make the disbursement of loan facilities to farmers as fluid as possible? Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to the next segment of this panel discussion, where we'd like to invite questions from the audience. We'll have 3 questions. Please keep them short. Only questions, no content. And we'll either have the panelists respond or somebody from the government team. So the floor is open. And I believe there's someone there with the microphone. You can just raise your hand. Oh, okay. Gentleman over there.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramosele Abiodun. I am the business editor of this day newspaper. Since we're talking about technology, I want anybody in the panel to tell me how the state government can benefit from the investment in training of the youth or the Edo Tech Center and all that. What do I mean? If, for example, there's a graduate from the tech innovation centers, and such fellow ends up in San Francisco, for example, and set up a company in San Francisco, the Americans will probably benefit from such investment. So how can the government benefit from the investment in training the youth across the tech hub in the States? Do you understand my question?
Are you talking about financing?
I mean, in terms of how can the government benefit from the investment in youth across the state in the tech? For example, if a youth graduates from the tech center and ends up in San Francisco and set up a company there, the revenue or tax probably go to American government. The only way they can actually get to the state is by maybe remittance to the country. So how can the government benefit from the investment in the tech centers across the state?
Thank you very much. Your question talks about how Edo State government will benefit from the training of youths in the tech park. Thank you. First and foremost, the people being trained in that center are all going to be youths of Edo State mostly, who will after that get jobs, and that will reduce unemployment amongst our youths. That's one of them. The second one is that these people become globally competitive. And if you've heard about the diaspora remittances to Edo State, many of them are getting jobs, virtual jobs, and earning in foreign exchange here in Nigeria, which actually addresses a lot of diaspora inflows that will come into Edo State because they are here. So that is another benefit. But much more than that, for us as a government, it's about identifying that the youths are key to the tomorrow that we dream about. And the World Economic Forum tells us that 65% of the jobs that will exist by the year 2030 do not exist today, and they will most probably all be digital. So as a government, we are being intentional in training the youths of Edo to be part of that digital disruption globally, so that they can compete with their peers anywhere in the world and make Edo State harness from that benefit and contribute to our Making Edo Great Again agenda. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm just going to add to what Mrs. Sarah said, because I work for Decagon and we are the primary partners with the government on that project. I think that, first of all, we are open whatever outcome it is, whether they stay here or they move out. I started now by saying that we have to bring the success stories really close to home. So it's better to have Anosasui, who goes into the tech park, is trained, gets a job in California, and then migrates to the US, launches a startup in the next couple of years, and then is able to have an IPO in 7 years from now. It becomes a role model for other young people who are growing up here to see that it is possible, and that through the acquisition of digital skills that it can be able to unlock that kind of a value. If they stay back here, it increases the income density of the city, in the sense that they work for global companies and then they are earning effects. So they come back and this is where they spend their money, which he has been able to deal with significantly. So I see it as a net positive, irrespective of whether they stay back here or they move out of the state. And we are very excited to make that happen, because what matters for us is that we are making a dent on the youth unemployment, not just in Edo State, but in Nigeria.
Sorry, just the last point to cap up what Sarah and George said. When Edo State youth are trained, there is a lot of digitization projects that are currently going on within the government, and there's a lot more that will come. You need software engineers, network engineers, and support people to drive these digitization projects of the government. So it's only wise that the government, in investing in its youth, digital-wise, builds the pipelines to fill those roles that will be responsible for the digitization programs of the Edo State government. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. You can just give them the mic. Can you give them the microphone, please?
Hello. Mr. George, you mentioned that you work with You mentioned that you work with Decagon. I just wanted to know what exactly the Edo State government is doing with Decagon.
Okay, thank you very much. I will take a minute to quickly explain. So Decagon is a tech talent training institute, but we like to call it an elite tech talent training institute. Yesterday I was having a chat with someone, and he shared with me that while we're looking at 15,000 for the numbers that we're setting out to train in the next 5 years, it's really because the way we are designed is for very high impact on a per individual basis. What it means is that typical human empowerment projects would skill you up and then give you a job that pays you maybe just a bit above minimum wage. But what we do at Decagon, and we've been able to do sustainably for the last 3 years, is that if you are able to make it into our program for 6 months and then you graduate, all our graduates earn a minimum of 250,000. So it's very high impact. And then when you have an obligation to train and provide job placement, at that level, you have to keep the numbers down and stick with what is realistic. But back to what we are doing with the Edo State government. The Edo State government, through all the initiatives that the governor has outlined today, is looking to see how it can be able to develop a tech ecosystem within the city. So the way you turn to Tel Aviv, Bangalore in India, or Silicon Valley in the US, the governor is very interested and keen on the fact that when people look at Africa and talk about technology, that Benin City will stand out, and there would be a beacon, that comes up here as a hub that you can look to for tech talent. And when you set out on that kind of a mandate, what you want first is both the talent and the enabling environment. So the talent is what we're able to produce as Decagon. So think of us as more like a machinery through which you can run an unemployed or underemployed youth, and then they come out on the other end as a tech talent who is high value and highly sought after by most of these global companies. So our partnership with the Edo State government has 2 components. One is for that training to happen, which is 15,000 core software engineers within the next 5 years, that will begin to now form the critical mass around which we will build out the ecosystem, and also the development of an Edo Tech Park, which the governor has also spoken about. It's a 20-hectare facility in the educational hub of the city around Ubowo, And as he mentioned, work is set to commence. In fact, there's land preparation currently ongoing. And the idea is to finally consolidate all this initiative around a physical location that will become the home for whether what we are doing at Innovate, the other take-off facility in Okoromi and all that. We now start to house this and have other anchor talent come into the city and see Edo as a choice location for technology services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just also want to use this opportunity to clarify that yes, Decagon is one of the partners that Edo State government is partnering with in terms of technology disruption. We also have partnerships with Amazon, with Microsoft, with Oxfam, and also with GIVE. And all of this is about training our youths and our people to ensure that we are part of the technology transformation happening globally. These trainings that they help with our youth is actually training to get jobs. So they are hands-on training, and we are doing it with global and local institutions, just to clarify. Thank you.
So we have a comment from one of our partners with the Edo Innovate Park, Aya from Obaseki, who if you were at the gala dinner 2 days ago, you would have met. She's going to speak for 1 minute about the partnership with the Edo State government.
Hello. Thank you very much. Can you see me? My name is Aya Shasha. It's been a pleasure to be here in Benin City over the last few days. We've officially launched a partnership with the Edo State government through Edo Jobs and Edo Innovates. And we are partnering to upskill 1,000 learners in technology. And we will be focusing on outcomes such as digital work and digital freelancing to enable financial inclusion and growth. One of the really important areas that we've discussed with the governor that we've been able to see be successful across our programs all over the world, from Silicon Valley to the Middle East to area in kind of Asia and Latin America, is that technology is really empowering women in specific in creating incomes and not staying away from their families, not staying away from their homes, so really enabling them to double their incomes, triple their incomes in a way that is empowering them on a day-to-day basis. So what we really would like to do and focus on in this program is to really of course, be inclusive to everyone, but really have a very, very strong focus on attracting women into this program so that we can really increase the participation of women in technology and decrease the financial divide between genders and across the world. So very proud to be here and appreciate everyone's time and energy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Aya. So we're now going to wrap up. What I'll do is ask each of the panelists to please share your 1 or 2 last closing thoughts, something that we can really take away from this summit and something that we can really use to think about how to build our digital economy. Just thinking about the ambitious plans that the Edo State government validly has. I hear myself. Just thinking about the plans that Edo State government has, I want to touch a little bit on financing. 3 things that I would say. The Edo State and Bank of Industry SME fund that was raised is forth-leading. Many other states should be doing it. And the governor spoke about that going from 2 billion to 10 billion. The funding gap, however, is significantly larger than that. That is one source of funding. I want to suggest that you contemplate a situation where that is a debt fund and you use that as a basis for attracting equity investment into SMEs. The credibility and the structures in Edo State are there for that. And secondly, that you then include other partners, including BOI, in similar funds that would then become more sector focused, particularly for digital and innovation and transformation. And then also there's the illicit fund, the impact investment funds are now looking at countries and states like Edo
that are running many of the initiatives that you're running. And so setting up infrastructure funds, infrastructure vehicles, and also even just initiatives to fund these sectors, but particularly targeting ESG and impact investors, I think the time is now for that. And the last thing I would say is the illicit funds out there that are looking for projects to be invested in. Edo State has a lot of value projects. We have over 100 billion of money going out every year in illicit funds. So there's a big pool there to tap, and there's organizations looking for valid projects to divert the monies for each country into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. In my opening comments, I spoke to the government and tried to highlight some of the gaps that I see. So I'm going to close by talking to the youth and the young people out there. I would want you to trust the process of what is currently ongoing in the state. It's not very typical, it's not very conventional. When we talk about youth empowerment, what we typically see is a gathering where government will come and share motorcycles, tricycles, and all that. This is very that this is what prepares you for the future. The jobs of tomorrow are going to be very different. If you lack digital skills, it is that you are going to be even less employable in future. So, to as much as possible, find a way to get yourself involved. If you are interested in what we are undergoing, you can go to edotechpark.com/training and then fill out the form. We'll receive your details immediately, send you a follow-on email with instructions on how to proceed. It's instant. And if you make it, you get into the program, you don't pay a fee. You know, the central bank and other financing partners have now been able to set up a fund to support students through this program. You can also walk up to any Edo Innovate office that is closest to you and find a way that you can get involved in the different digital training that they have as a way to upskill yourself. So I want to say thank you very much, Aida, for the opportunity, and also Your Excellency and everyone here present. Thanks.
Thank you all. I think for us to build the digital economy for Edo State, we need to think big. And in thinking big, incremental thinking and development just won't cut it when it comes to technology. There's no reason why Edo State will not be the center for the largest business process outsourcing center globally. For very simple reasons. We've got the skills, we've got the talent, and we've got the speech. We can locate such centers through government and private sector partnership to create more opportunities for the youth. It is my humble belief that Edo State has a unique opportunity because Edo State has always been known for excellence in education, and we can take that excellence in education a step further by creating the enabling environment for our teeming youths who seemingly have perfect
to us all over the country. As many of us that are listening to us all across the world, plug into this train, because this train is going somewhere. The destination is known. It's been done before in Singapore, in Dubai, in Rwanda. Changed their future. And in Edo, we are changing our future. A lot of us are getting on board. We are coming in to say, yes, we believe in this dream. We can make it happen. We can support our governor. We can support our digital deputy governor. And we can birth the Edo of our dreams. And we need many or more of us to get on that train, because it is possible. And we are all going to make it happen. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I believe that technology and innovation is the paradigm shift that's needed in the agriculture sector to position Edo State on the continent of Africa on a pedestal to play on the global scene. I'm quite happy today to hear a lot about dreams, dream big, and also the slogan "Make Edo great again." I think that's one of the first important steps. And it's a right step in the right direction for our youths to start thinking instead of complaining and expect the government to come up with solutions. Let's start looking at problems within our communities and start creating solutions to these problems. I think, and I'm also quite happy to hear that there's a lot of partnerships with organizations like Decagon, Amazon, Microsoft, and the others you've mentioned, which would sort of start changing the mindsets of our youths and making them start seeing possibilities within their environments and surroundings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yvonne, George, Chris, Sarah, Asiwa. Thank you to the audience. Thank you for your questions and your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ida and her panel. Can we give them a round of applause? They're just on time. Yes. Excuse me, can you just come back? I'm sorry. We need to do a photo opportunities. I'm so sorry. Everybody gets together. While that is going on, as we applaud them, if you're on the stage or down, where do you want it? Right here. I'm so sorry. They do this to us all the time, the paparazzi. So just stay. Ms. Yvonne says, develop the startups. Mr. George says, trust the process. Mr. Osazua Osai says, change the mindset of our youth. Ms. Sarah Ajosa Adogun says, plug into the dream. Government can't do it alone. And Mr. Chris Abulime says, Edo State can become the international hub, because we have the speed, we have the talent, and we have the speech. There's something about Edo indigenes. Our language is unique. Our English is impeccable. And we can take the world by something big. Speed, talent, and speech. Thank you very much to the powerful team. Thank you for coming. And we appreciate you. I'd like to advise that everybody remains seated. Refreshments will be sent across. Ida, is that yours? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And I know that, if you look at the program, you will see the profile of everyone that has been speaking to you. So Ida works for the World Bank Group. She's the Senior Digital Development Global Practice. So if her spree was a little too much, we pardon her. A round of applause for the team, and thank you for supporting Edo State and dreaming with us. The second set, they're ready. We have 2 plenaries. So the second set are ready, and they're ready to go. I'm going to invite the moderator to come and take over. They're ready. Ms. Yewande Adewusi is the Regional Director of Africa for BBC Global News. A round of applause, please, as she comes forward to welcome our people. Thank you so much.
The ancient city is calling, all our sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers of labor and our time to serve is now. The glory of the new mega nation will forever be our pride. Beautiful and glorious and you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful and glorious and stars are singing over you. You're the land we want to be. Our treasures are found in all nations, and our greatness is second to none. Our history forever shall be written, how our kings have endured all times. Our people cultured in unity, our hearts beat for the land. Rich culture, stories.
Thank you very much. Can we stop the anthem for now? The second plenary is ready. May we please resume our seats. It's all about keying into the dream, and if we don't listen to perspectives that would help us plan, we will go forward. So we are ready to roll. Can we all please take our seats? Thank you so much. Can we all please take our seats?
Please, can we have some quiet? The second plenary is starting. We just want to establish the fact that the Platinum sponsor is Sterling Bank and is led here by Emmanuel Emefiele, Executive Director, Sterling Bank. Please, we apologize for not recognizing you earlier on. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, all the distinguished guests, permit me to stand on existing protocol this afternoon. My name is Yewande Ogogo. Let my grandfather not come down and whip me this afternoon. Ogogo Adeosi here with you this afternoon. I will quickly share an oversight. This afternoon we have a conversation about the insights and perspectives on bottom-up approach to reinventing governance and the strategies to improve the business environment through this sort of engagement, fiscal, administration and management, enabling good legislature and good governance, and civic engagement and responsibility. Let me quickly introduce our esteemed panel. I'm so jittery with all the people here. First, let me start with Reverend David Ugalo, Executive Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, who has been active over 2 decades in promoting good governance and anti-corruption work through his research, policy dialogue, education, advocacy, and is a leading NGO in Benin City. He has recently been appointed to the board of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. Good afternoon, sir. Next, I move on to Dr. Jumoke Oduole, Special Advisor to the President on the Ease of Doing Business. Since her assumption of office in 2016, she has driven the government's agenda on improving the business environment at a federal level and has been successful with her team in moving Nigeria up 39 places in the Ease of Doing Business rankings. She is the VP for West Africa, the Executive Board for the Association of International Law. Welcome, Dr. Julie. I'd like to welcome our Right Honorable Marcus Onobu, Speaker of the Edo House of Assembly, the youngest ever Speaker in the Edo House of Assembly. He is a youth champion, and through his esteemed career in the area of governance, he had worked on resolutions to ensure we meet the demands of timely development. Welcome, Honorable Speaker. And last but not the least, we have the Honorable Commissioner of Finance for Edo State, Mr. Joseph Egboigwe. Prior to the appointment as a commissioner, he served as the special advisor to the governor on budget and economic planning. He has extensive experience in the Edo State Economic and Strategy team, and he understands the complex but vital connection between good governance and economic development. So let's get started. Inclusive governance through public consultation is the fundamental, sustainable development as reiterated by SDG 16. Citizens' consultation in policy planning and determination enhances the quality of policy outcomes and helps to build trust in political institutions. In also building this trust in the system, we must ensure the bottom-up approach includes capacity building of public servants across government and institutional structure of government. We need to also build the capacity of the citizens to understand the importance of their engagement in the civic process and making their leaders accountable, and to make sure the demands are met through continuous engagement. So I'll start with Reverend Ogolo. Briefly, very briefly, just give us a walkthrough of the bottom-up approach that the government of Edo State embarked on to ensure there's an impact on civic responsibility and engagement of civic participation.
Thank you. Again, I want to stand on existing protocol. First, I want to thank His Excellency for, again, giving us the opportunity to be part of this groundbreaking summit that provides, again, opportunity for Edo people to come together to interact and explore opportunity for taking the state forward. First, good governance, preventive governance. I would like to just quickly again identify the key 6 indicators that again reflect how you can actually measure good governance. And I will take it from the World Bank perspective in a way that if you look, issue of voice and accountability, the issue of political stability, government effectiveness, good regulatory system, the rule of law, and then lastly, the control of corruption. Now, in Edo State, we are very lucky to have had the opportunity to have advocated for Edo State government to adopt the open government partnership. But before the Edo State government actually adopted the open government partnership, they've already started implementing major policy strands that reflect good governance. For instance, Edo State was one of the first states across the entire country that started open data platform. But unfortunately, people won't understand because of not knowing about the open data platform. And so when Edo State government decided to sign on to the open government partnership, it creates the opportunity, because when we talk about reinventing governance, it's good to identify what is practicable and how can you carry forward good governance. And so the open government partnership, the OGP, provides that opportunity. And so when we came together, we engaged the Edo State government, and the Edo State government accepted, and we came to co-create. And that's why when the governor was doing his opening speech, I was very encouraged by 2 things. When he said, you don't fight existing system, but you create a model that will challenge the system. Again, OGP provides that opportunity. It provides that opportunity in the sense that citizens and government were able to come together. They were able to jointly build understanding, and they co-created the 9 commitments. And I am happy that I'm here with my colleagues, fellow Pelanis, who will be speaking on the issue of legislation. The issue of legislation was also identified as one of those commitments. The ease of doing business Edo State have done very well. And then the issue of fiscal transparency on the issue of open budgeting. In the first time in history, citizens in Edo State, for example, NGOs, civil society, were consulted when the budgeting process were going on. That was a major plank in the open government partnership. And then secondly, the issue of dialogue. And I think Alaghodaro is one of those framework of ensuring dialogue. Now, the only better way to come with an idea of good governance or bottom-up approach is this kind of forum. And that's exactly what Alaghodaro also represents. And in producing this kind of opportunity, I also said that open government partnership also provided the opportunity for citizens and government to identify concrete governance issues. And if you look in Edo State, there are two things that manifest that. I am not sure that when the governor was contesting the election, that he didn't mention that his name is Wake and See Governor.
Thank you so much.
Hello?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's just give the other opportunity of the panelists to come back.
Exactly.
So we've heard about open government partnerships and how that produces trust because of the co-creation of the plan together with the citizenry. So I'm going to move to our honorable speaker. Legislative activism is the legislative activism for representative governance is the hallmark of the bottom-up approach. How, in your legislative constituent relationship, are you building that trust to meet the demands of development, to make sure whatever you're saying you're going to do, you're taking it from the bottom to the top in creating those bills and policies?
Reinventing governance, the bottom-up approach. First, say that government is one of different arms, where you have the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. As a legislature, our main responsibility and functions are making laws for the good governance of the states, carrying out oversight, and of course, representing our people. What we're talking about today is the bottom-up approach, how we are able to engage our citizens. Now, it will interest you to know, as lawmakers, we are the closest to our constituents. And what we do as part of representation is to bring feedback from our various constituencies to the government at the center, where we put together through policy formulation and as well reach out to them as a way of executing those policies at the end of the day. So for us, we always engage our constituents through either town hall meetings and usually
First lady.
I'd also like to thank the Deputy Governor, Your Excellency, and your lovely wife. There's something peculiar about Edo State that speaks to the answer to your question. The last time I was here, on the invitation of His Excellency, was for the launch of a small claims court, which is a PEBEC initiative that was instituted by the Judiciary, Edo State High Court. In that event, both the governor, the deputy governor were there, the speaker was there, of course the chief judge was there. Today we see each of the distinguished senators and various members of Edo State government. They're not just here because they like His Excellency. They're here because they know that they're representing people and it's their job to be here and to pay attention. That is what it means to have a bottom-up approach. When they know that they're here because of the people at the very bottom, then they're accountable. Now, when you talk of an enabling environment, indeed, the Right Honorable Speaker said that it's one government. I'd like to borrow that and go further. It's one economy. So when you have the Edo State economy, it's implanted in Nigerian economy as a whole, but you have businesses domiciled at states. There's no business that is domiciled in federal government. So we work very closely with their excellencies, the governors, paying attention to what businesses are experiencing in their home local environment. When you have an administration that pays attention, has a team dedicated to working on ease of doing business, has been tracking, the Edo State Reform Champion was a representative on the technical working group representing the South-South, and you have a whole team, there are about 4 of them. Additionally, the Investment Promotion Agency, they have a strategic approach, and that's part of what you see speaking to the 30-year plan. It didn't just start. Right from the beginning of the administration, they've been taking pains. We've been here, we've been hosted by Edo State, stakeholder engagement with young entrepreneurs, and it is that deliberate engagement that makes it a conducive place for businesses to thrive.
Thank you so much, Dr. Duole. So we're hearing that everybody at every level in Edo State has to be involved in this process because you're representing your people. And if you are not there, your people's position is not actually in place to be promoted. And also, continuous engagement. Continuous engagement. It's not a one-off. You have to continuously engage with the public servants, with the civil society, with the youth. Everybody needs to be carried along, is what I'm taking home from what you're saying, to make sure that everybody's on the train, someone mentioned in the previous panel. Honorable Commissioner, the Public Financial Management and Fiscal Responsibility Act, I will not say that again, the PFMFR, sets out the standards for more efficient and effective management of revenues at all states. What is your bottom-up approach to cascading this information to the citizens of Edo State?
Thank you very much. So in Edo State, the bottom-up approach in fiscal management starts right at the very beginning when the governor goes out to campaign. Now, those interactions are crafted into the manifesto, first and foremost. And ultimately, they are mainstreamed into the state's medium-term sector strategy. Through this process, we establish priority initiatives for implementation, and then we rank, take the top 20-30% initiatives that will deliver 60-80% socioeconomic development needs. Now, these are costed, the initiatives, and it goes into the medium-term expenditure framework alongside a reasonable estimate of revenues. And then we go back to the citizens through the public consultative forum that Reverend referred to. We had one just yesterday as well. And again, we solicit review comments and suggestions from the citizens to the plans that we've mapped out to raise revenues and spend over a 3-year period. And it's a detailed document. It shows the individual projects that we're looking to implement. Again, deriving from the interactions that we had with Mr. Governor during campaign, as articulated in the manifesto. So
You can therefore see the involvement of the citizens right from the bottom into the MTEF, which is a legal instrument, and then the budget is derived from the MTEF. And then the other processes follow. We achieve Executive Council, legislative approvals, and then we implement. But it doesn't stop there. The implementation process also sees us publishing quarterly budget performance reports. This is also available to the citizens for review and feedback. And Mr. Governor has instituted frameworks that guarantee process and systems integrity. So we have a central internal audit office that guarantees that. And then there's quarterly external audits by the Auditor General, again to ensure that we are accountable for every naira tax revenues that we spend. At the end of the year, the audited financials are published as well.
Thank you so much for that. So transparency all the way, from the honesty of sticking to the manifesto positions that were in the campaign process to make those the priorities, continuous engagement, taking it back to the Reverend and so to that, I'm going to just go to Dr. Duole real quick before I go to my immediate question. Now, we're saying civic engagement. Public servants are also part of the civic engagement. So I would like to know the role of the public servant in the ease of doing business, because when I come to do business in Edo State, I'm not going to meet an individual, I'm going to offices that are manned by individuals. So what is the role of the public servant in service delivery and the reorientation that might be required to make sure that it's efficient?
Public servants, public and civil servants, they're the front line, they're the engine room of any administration. You heard His Excellency refer to prioritizing civil service reform. It's something that the entire country needs to prioritize. When you want to have a transformation or a reformation project, it has to be prioritized at highest levels politically, and you have to equip the public and civil servants with the tools. I'll go for, since His Excellency already talked about hard infrastructure, I'll go for the softer infrastructure with training, with engagement. You have to sell the vision to them. So, for instance, if I take the federal government, the PEBEC, the Intervention and Privilege to Coordinate, it was launched in 2016 and it's chaired by the Vice President. It's a systemic approach to making it easier to start and run a business in Nigeria. Now, it's not at the political level of the Vice President or the honorable ministers, and even when we cascaded it down to the subnational level, it's not at that level that the work gets done. So my team and I have to interact. We ask each agency to nominate a reform champion, and we engage with those reform champions and negotiate space. You have to actually say, okay, if you have 10 procedures for starting a business, and you engage with private sector, and private sector like, we only need one or none if possible. We need it to be automated, 6 manual forms. So you have to convince the public and civil servants and equip them, automate the processes preferably, block all loopholes for rent-seeking behavior, and then publicize the reform to the private sector so that there's accountability. So you see that if they are not equipped, that's the public and civil servants, with knowing what the reform is and how to go about implementing it. And also the first executive order of this administration was on transparency and efficiency of public service delivery. And we track it. That's Executive Order 001. And it's tracked. We have an app, reportgov.ng. So there's a monthly report that talks about your service delivery levels. And I heard Sarah, we engaged last night, talking about what Edo State is also doing. And you heard His Excellency talking about KPIs. You give the reforms that need to be done. You agree them. And then you have to have tracking and, of course, consequence management.
Thank you. So civil service reform, clear KPI for the reform champions, and sell it. Negotiate at the beginning. You want this change, I want that change. We need to automate. People reduce the forms. 5 forms, 3 forms, 1 form, no form. Constant negotiation between the parties. So I'm going to go back to the Honorable Commissioner of Finance real quick. And this is our last sort of round of questions before we go to the audience. So we discussed the launching of the 30-year Edo State Plan. This is massive. But is it going to be another document that sits on the shelf? So how are we going to make sure it does, number one? Two, who owns this plan? We're all going to leave. 30 years, I'm adding my age, I don't want to talk about it. But who's going to own this plan going forward? And how was the civic society engaged when you're trying to come up with this plan?
Thank you very much. So I want to refer to Mr. Governor's remarks earlier on about the 30-year plan. We have launched it today, and it's work in progress to be wrapped up pretty soon. After today's events, we will be soliciting inputs from a broad spectrum of stakeholders. What Mr. Governor has done so far is he's congregated experts from various fields to put a draft together. This is just the first draft. The document would be exposed, and we will solicit inputs from a broad spectrum, especially from the citizens. Once this is completed, the plan would receive executive and legislative approval. And so it is not seen as a document that was prepared by Governor Obaseki or some other individual. It becomes a state document and the basis for putting out medium-term plans going forward. Now, good enough, we have established a practice right now for medium-term planning and establishing our annual budgets from our medium-term plans. So because of that practice, the 30-year plan is broken into chunks of 5 years. And so that fits perfectly into the already established practice of planning for the medium term and implementing on an annual basis, and also revising the medium term plan. So we have that active iteration going on. So it's not a document that will sit on the shelf. It's also going to be used. I picked something up from Mr. Governor's speech earlier on, that the duration of the plan neatly fits into some 8 election cycles. So what we envisage would be candidates that want to run for governorship would refer to that 30-year plan and tell the citizens that, okay, the first term that I want to govern, see what the plan says. And this is how I'm going to deliver on those results contained in the plan. The citizens would hold that individual responsible for that delivery when he enters office. That's what we're likely going to see going forward. Thank you.
So the 30-year plan has 5-year chunks, which have milestones that we can follow. You have to be accountable to the people, and the person coming in next should just go pick up the plan. This is what's going, and pick it up and continue. Now, Honorable Speaker, again, this is our last round of questions. The 30-year plan, as the youth champion, what is the role of the legislator in selling this plan to your constituents? How are you carrying them along? How will you ensure that they know they're young now, but in 30 years they're going to be us? And how do they know that this is where we're going with Edo State?
Well, thank you. The 30-year plan for Edo State. First, I'd like to quickly say I'm privileged to be part of planning my own future because I'm a youth, and I'm happy and grateful that we have a governor and a government that tends to plan the future of our generation, of which I'm part of. And as a legislature, to our role in supporting this 30-year development plan, like I said, we are here to make laws for the good governance of the state. And we have a government that is proactive and has been putting policies and programs in place for the development of our dear state, and of course, building our future. And our responsibility is to give all legislative backing and make enabling laws. Like the governor rightly noted in his speech, that no successive government that will come and just come and change those plans, because these are not just plans by one man, but established with backed up laws as to the development of our dear state. So I'm standing here as Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly
that the state has always had, the executive have always had the support of the legislature, and will give all the legislative backing to this 30-year development plan.
Thank you. And Reverend Igolo, last point on this 30-year plan. Ogogo, how can I be involved as a citizen in this plan? How do you get me engaged? What are the channels for continuous engagement? How is civic society going to be constantly keeping everyone accountable on this 30-year journey from your perspective?
Well, again, I think the Honorable Commissioners have identified some critical entry points for civil society. I also want to put it on the fact that, like also what the Governor noted, we're no longer in the military era. We must also, as citizens, also develop the tools of engagement. And in engaging, you must know the opportunities that are opening. For instance, the Alaghodaros is an opportunity for policy engagement. So the MTEF is an opportunity for engagement. So the 30 years plan provides opportunity for different stakeholders to engage. Like the Honorable Commissioner have identified, it's not a top-down thing, it's a bottom-up thing. And I'm sure that the Governor, when he was also making his presentation, is open to an idea that will make Edo State to be great again. And so it's now, the ball is in the court of the people. The people have to understand that there are opportunities for engagement. So if the government opens up opportunity for engagement, it's up to the people to take it as a responsibility to design a framework for engagement. And that's what the Open Government Partnership has provided, and that's what Alaghodaro has provided, and that's what the MTEF, the Medium-Term Economic Strategy, has provided, and that's what the Open Budget System of Edo State has provided. But oftentimes, people complain because there's capacity problem. There is capacity problem, and there is knowledge deficit. And unfortunately, we are in the knowledge economy. If you don't have the knowledge, you won't be able to engage, and you'll be disenfranchised. And I'm also happy, and that the governor have also said they are also creating opportunity for those who miss the opportunity for education to again go into education. And that provides an opportunity for people to have the capacity to engage, because information, they say, is power. Without information, you cannot engage. And so how will people get the information? And that is why the website of the Edo State government provides that huge opportunity. People need to understand that they have to go, harness the information, use it to engage, and identify the entry points. And the entry points provided by the 30 years plan. And what the governor have done by making it open for bottom-up approach is that it goes beyond political party, it goes beyond a set of political elite, and that it is owned and driven by Edo people.
Thank you so much. So we're building the Edo of our dreams through continuous civil engagement with the government, a bottom-up approach. Do we have the one times far spent? So we will take one question.
I thought I should announce at this point in time, is there anybody that has found a spare microphone in the house? We seem to be missing one. I don't want to believe that one microphone will just walk away. So we might probably have to check people's bags to ensure that the microphones are. So we have a few questions. We are going to be able to take 2 questions very quickly. That's why I have this microphone down. Anybody ready to take questions at this point in time? The panelists are ready for you. Okay, we have somebody on the end here.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Osadolo. I want to put my own in a more or less like a form of advice to our young and very charismatic speaker. Now that you have said you are privileged to be part of the 30 years plan, which is about you, about me, and about all of us that are youth in the states, we expect you to hit the ground running because there is no time. Seeing the effort that this government has put in place and the funds that have been made available, especially for the projects that have been narrated that's currently ongoing, I would think that the legislative framework to guide all of this and see to it should be topmost priority for the assembly which you correctly lead. Going forward, I also wanted to speak in the last section of these sessions. The information guys and the Tekagon people, the partnership they have with the government, I think there should be a legislative framework to see to it that when this government goes, it can be made sustainable and no other government can degrade on it. Thank you very much.
That was basically a comment, but you might want to respond to it. But can we just restrict to questions? And I have a lot of diasporans in the house as well, so I'm going to take one from diasporans, and I have somebody at the back. So kindly respond, our honorable speaker, to what he said.
Yes, if I heard it. If I heard you clearly, you asked that we put plans in place to hit the ground running. Like I mentioned earlier, that I promise right here, because I know that I'm speaking through you to Edo people and Nigerians, that as Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly, we will give all legislative support
Honorable Speaker, sir, maybe we should take the next question while we try to sort out your microphone. We'll take the two questions and I'll bring this microphone over very quickly, sir.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shedrack Edo. I'm the Public Relations Officer to National Council of Nigeria, Edo State. My question is to the Honorable Commissioner. You mentioned while speaking, sir, that there's a draft, the draft of the 30-year plan. I'm wondering how we can lay our hands on it, please.
Thank you very much. I want to believe that the Commissioner also spoke about a website. So I'm going to respond. Anybody here, somebody here wanted to ask a question? Okay, ma'am. Okay. Just a quick one. Well, I just started your microphone, sir. Sorry, take this.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mrs. Igbenake, Edo Diaspora Women. So, the last question, your last statement, you talk about engagement. So, most of the diaspora women were professionals, educators, engineers, and doctors and everything. So, as an educator, I want to know how you can create accessibility to be able to get the right person to talk to when you want to be involved in promoting this in your state.
Okay, one question was about, it's about getting involved, who to see, and the other question was around the area of getting information about that draft. So I don't know if your microphone is working now, so I can send this one over.
Yes, like I said, the question is putting plans in place to hit the ground running. I'm reiterating and making this commitment through you to Edo people and Nigerians at large that the Edo State Legislature will support His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki in putting the enabling laws in place and the legislative backing to this 30 years development plan and all that it requires to see that, for some of us who are privileged and the younger generation who will be part of this 30 years development plan, and they see that it comes to fruition. So just to tell you that as a reason of this commitment that I've made publicly, this 30-year development plan has hit the ground running.
The first question is how can stakeholders access the draft 30-year plan? So there's a project development team that's responsible for the 30-year plan, and right now they are working out a timetable for stakeholder engagement. As soon as that document is done, we will publish it, and each group of stakeholders would know when it will be their turn to engage. So we may not just throw the document out there, but we want to sit with you and take you through this document so that we can deepen the understanding and then get very constructive feedback from you. So that timetable will soon be published. The next question is how stakeholders can access, I would assume, relevant government offices for partnerships. If that's correct, okay. And feedback, right. So, now depending on what initiative you're looking to discuss, the first port of call would be the state government site for those who are very far from Edo State. The website contains names and contact details for respective officers depending on the issue you want to engage Edo State government with. Now, if you are in Benin, the typical first port of call would be the Ministry of Communication and Orientation. They are statutorily responsible to first engage with individuals. From there, you can be directed to the relevant offices. Otherwise, you know, Mr. Governor also operates an open door policy. So again, we can equally
Excellencies, the Governor and the Deputy Governor, and I'd like to quickly acknowledge the presence of the National President, Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Comrade Chris Isiguzo. A round of applause for him, all the way from Abuja. Thank you very much, we appreciate you. Professor Dennis Agbolaho has been here with us, former Vice Chancellor, Ambrose Ali University. And of course, the members of the Nigerian Bar Association, we appreciate all of you for coming. Jimo Ijegbai Esquire, Chief of Staff to the Deputy Governor, we appreciate you, sir. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, will now give the closing remarks. His Excellency, please can we put our hands together for Right Honorable Comrade Philip Shaibu for the closing remarks, and after which the Secretary to the State Government, Usaudoge, will be moving a vote of thanks on behalf of Edo State Government and on behalf of Alaghodaro, the Edo Summit. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Sons and daughters of the land, the king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers of labor and our time
Hello. Your Excellency, my senior brother and the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki. We can see governor. My sister, the wife of the governor and first lady of Edo State, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki. My sweetheart, the wife of the deputy governor of Edo State, Miriam Philip Shaibu. The youngest speaker in Nigeria and in Africa, my brother, Right Honorable Onobu, and the Chief Judge, our dynamic Chief Judge of Edo State, Justice Archer. The Secretary of the Government, my twin brother, the Secretary of Edo State Government, Barrister Osarajoge, and his lovely wife. My constituency, my other constituency, the National Assembly members that are here, the three distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria representing Edo North, Edo Central, and Edo South, and the honorable members representing Ipoboha and Esa Federal Constituency, my former colleagues in the National Assembly, the chairman of the ruling party in Edo State, my brother Tony Azebeni, Right Honorable, and the chairman of Alaghodaro Trust, my Ebo, and the team. Good afternoon all. I would like to, at this stage, just stand on the protocol that the governor have already established, but I needed to mention these few names. On behalf of all of us in government and the good people of Edo State, we are deeply grateful for the Alaghodaro Trust for putting this together. If you look through the document that has been given to you, you see where it started from. Today, or this year, we are celebrating 30 years. And this year, also, we are launching a document or a process that will take us to another 30 years. It's something very, very significant. And when you listen to Mr. Speaker, this is a document that will guarantee the future of Edo State represented by the face of the Speaker, the younger generation. Looking through it and listening to our young Edo Tech decadents, you will see that the future that we're talking about is already here. And the job of the future is already here. And the only way we can take advantage of this opportunity that have been created by this government is for us to participate. And we need to participate. We need to take ownership. If there's anything the governor has always talked about, is for us to take ownership. You cannot take ownership when you don't understand even the program. And that is why processes are key. And we are very determined to make sure that we carry our people along in every step that we take. Because government business is to just create that environment. But it's your duty to make it work. And for us, we are taking government to a different level, to its own activity and to be responsible as a government. Government does not have business in business. I've always said that. But government have business in creating an enabling environment that you, the private sector, will drive. But in doing that, we also need, as a government, to create a space that you can trust. And when you trust that space, then investment, you can part with your investment. You can bring all your investment because you are sure that your investment is secured. This is all the package we are talking about. And this is all this Alaghodaro Trust hope to get for us. And for us as a government, we will continue to interact, we will continue to engage, because engagement is continuous, because the world is dynamic. As we move on, as the thing changes, we also deal with it. The job of the future is technology. Knowledge economy is what we are now investing in. Please, Edo open for that investment. Edo is ready. Our security, we are dealing with it. We have a whole lot of programs that we are set to deal with the issue of security. Edo State is one of the safest states in the country, and in South-South. Because of the security architecture that was properly thought out. We never knew COVID-19 will ravage the world. But all the processes that we started with in 2016 already have the package of COVID-19 in case it struck. And that is why it struck, Edo was still working. We are the only state in Nigeria that was not having sleepless nights in paying our workers. Our workers' salaries were never reduced. They were paid full salaries. For us, salary should not be what government should be lamenting on. People talk about road and infrastructure and school. For us, that is a giving. That is government responsibility. What we think of now in the knowledge economy is policy that will make things work. And the speaker today, I want to thank you. He has given an endorsement to policy that will take us through 2021 to 2050. And we have CJ, brand new CJ in Edo State, that is a very responsible one. And we have our lordship that are all working as a team to make Edo State work. So humanity started with cooperation. We have one government, the executive arm, the legislative arm, and the judiciary. In Edo State, we have a governor that has been able to bring all of us to understand that government is one. So for the business sector, Edo State is ready for business, and we are ready to roll. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Edo State is ready. Edo State is run by one government. Can you give me a minute, please? I'm sorry. I just thought it would be wise before we left here to see our board members and capture them for posterity on picture with a photograph with the governor and the deputy governor. So I'm going to ask that the board, the Alaghodaro board, only one person is not here, so please come up to the stage. The board members for Alaghodaro. No, so I would like to ask the directors for Alaghodaro to please come forward, led by the secretary to the state government. The chairman is ahead, the governor and the deputy governor, big brother and small brother. Yes, Mr. Osaudion Ogie, Mr. Oluwole Iyamu, Mr. Emmanuel Ikazabo, Mr. Anthony Okunga, Mr. Zuma Oyempa, Mrs. Omojiafo is not here present, she was here last night, Ms. Otayi Alile, and Ms. Onoise Narino. Onoise has been busy on the floor. So these are the limited guarantee company that will ensure that work continues. You guys are not in a row, guys. You're not in a row. Can we all please, with the board members? I'm so sorry. Take off your mask. Too many
we'd like to announce that Alaghodaro, the Edo Summit 2021 has come to an end. That is, the first day has come to an end. It continues tomorrow with other activities, the commissioning of some projects, and yes, I can recognize Okinebo Direct. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll be at, yes, quickly, tomorrow 13th there will be golf tournament at the golf course club. 11 o'clock will be time opening of Edo Creative Hub. Edo Creative Hub. And at 6 p.m. mega concert will be on. And this is inviting you to be part of it tomorrow. And on the 14th of November, which is on Sunday, this night, Samuel is called. Can we take the national anthem as we rise to our feet?
We agreed that we'll do the
national anthem.
No, we'll do one first. The Edo anthem, followed by the national anthem. And just to let you know, your program says opening of Creative Hub is at 11. That's wrong. It's going on at 6 p.m. It's at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll take the Edo anthem, segue nicely into the national anthem. Can we go, please? Thank you very much, everybody.
The ancient city is calling. Oh, arise, sons and daughters of the land. The king of the city is marching. Stand up high to the pride of the land. The founding fathers have labor and our time to serve is now. The glory of the new nation will forever be our pride. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, you're the heartbeat of Nigeria. Beautiful Edo, glorious Edo, stars are singing over you. You're the land people dream to be.
For coming early. Thank you for staying through. Thank you to our senators who are here. Thank you for the collaboration between all arms of government.